So like I said in a previous video, that equalization and knowing your EQ and spectrum and all of that kind of stuff is very important. So let's put that more in a tangible scenario, more everyday Sunday morning, whatever your service times are, whatever you're doing. Let's look at the EQ on this particular microphone that we have. Standard $20 microphone from Amazon, just a regular lavalier, but you can tell that it does not sound bad, right? But you do hear some room noise. So if you look back there, there's a couple of things that I'm doing on this channel strip. I am taking out some of the low frequency. I do have a low cut here and tailoring some of the low mids and mids, and just taking out a little bit of the high frequency, kind of where my S's are gonna land, around that maybe 6K range. All right, so if we look at all of this and let's take this off. So first I'm gonna take the low cut off. And so you hear my voice got a little bit more radio style, a little bit more boomy. Join me here at, blah, blah, blah. So it added that low frequency in there. And then, so let's take out this EQ. So now we're completely flat. You can hear a little bit more of the room, right? That low, or that mid range that I was taking out, about 800 Hertz. You can hear that come through, and my S's are kind of more pronounced and all that kind of stuff. So this is a flat EQ. You can hear the room a little bit better. But then when I put all of this back on, it's a slight difference, right? But it sounds, to me, it sounds more like me. And that's what you want to do, is have the equalizer set to sound more natural, unless you're trying to do some effect stuff. Now, let's do this. So a lot of the times, our biggest thing is not necessarily how the mic sounds, but how we can make this mic function in a normal room, where we have speakers. This is an enclosed environment. It's, I don't have speakers and all that kind of stuff, so it's gonna sound okay. But let's introduce a speaker and see how we can utilize EQ to minimize feedback. So let's click here. And so this is the bus that I have a speaker on, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the equalizer on and feed this mic into it until we are on the brink of feedback. So I'm coming in here, check 1, 2. All right, so before I say that, when we're setting up these microphones, we wanna first make sure it sounds good in the house, right? So of course, you're not gonna wanna put a lav in a monitor, but I've been to places where that is a thing. And so you have to just work around the request. And if the delegate is high enough, you're just gonna have to do whatever they say and do your best. But first, when I try to EQ these microphones, I make sure that they sound good in the house. And if I don't have a monitor console and a monitor engineer and I have to do it from the front of house desk, I try not to touch my channel strip EQ to make the monitor work. I always try to do everything I can on the actual monitor strip, or on that monitor EQ to the best of my ability. So we're gonna do that here. So let's fade this speaker up and see what happens. So we're already getting some feedback here, and we're probably, I hear a little bit of low, and then I hear some high. I kind of got that room 1K area. There it is. Okay. So, all right. So the first thing we want to do is, we're learning by viewing now. Everything has a real-time spectrum analyzer on it. So we're learning by looking at the spectrum analyzer and understanding, and put that viewership, or put that your eyesight with your ears, and remembering, when that peaks out this way, or when that sounds like this is this frequency, this. And it's okay to be relative, because I'm going to show you on this kind of parametric EQ how to, relatively get these curves going, and then we'll move to a 31 band third octave EQ at some other video. But right now, one of the frequencies that I hear right now is like a, what is that? Let me see. Yeah, I said 1K, so it's 1.5. So let's tailor that, and we're gonna dip that out of that monitor. So I didn't touch the monitor level at all, but it's not exciting. Let me take the EQ off. Okay. And if I EQ on, EQ off. So that's, you know, that's prime example. And now I hear something a little higher. I can't whistle that high, but it sounds like maybe 2.5 or 3K. So there it is. And this is all real time. I don't know. I'm just, I'm doing this in real time. So that's higher. So now I'm gonna have to make a choice. And the choice is I'm gonna take this and tailor this. And then with this one, I'm gonna just widen this Q just a little bit on this monitor just to make sure that I can get that 1K and I can get the 2K. Good, all right. All right, so we have what, something about like a 150-ish. And so we'll come down here. Oh, look at that, 630, 600. There you go. All right, it's gone. All right, so let's figure out what that frequency is. There it is. And sometimes what you could do is you can boost the frequency just a little bit to make sure you got it. So, hey, check. There you go. And that's how you EQ. Such a small difference made every, you know, just these small little curves. I was able to fix this monitor here that I have in the room with this lav. Now, is it loud? It's not too loud, but it's loud enough to where I'm, what, 4 feet away from it, and it's working fine. So what do? There's a principle that I teach. It's called L.A.C.R. It's listen, analyze, compare, react. And so I'm listening to it. I'm comparing it to what I know sounds good. I'm analyzing it, making sure that, figure out what's going on, comparing it what sounds good that I know, and then I'm reacting. And all of this stuff happens in a split second. And I don't want you to be afraid thinking that you can't learn this. You actually can learn it. It's just being very diligent, yes, and deliberate with your learning. And it's just like anything. You can learn how to hear something and say, oh, okay, and you heard me do it, that's 1K. Well, it wasn't 1K exactly, but because I'm using a parametric EQ, I can widen that Q a little bit. And if I was on 1K, but it was 1.5, I can catch 1.5 as well, if that makes any sense. And so, what I do is I'll hum a little bit. I'll try to match it with my tone. If you're tone deaf, you might not be able to do that, but I'm relatively not. But and then I'll make it excite there, or I'll sweep the EQ just a little bit. I'll boost it just a tad to figure out exactly where it is. But yeah, so a lot of it is. Let me address one other thing too. Let's go back to my channel. Let's see what happens if I disable this EQ that I have on this mic and use the monitor and see if any of, so I am getting a little bit of, a little bit of EQ there, a little bit of feedback there in that rate. So, and if I put that EQ back on, it kind of helps. So that's really good. Remember, what equalization is, and the equalizer is just adjusting the frequencies, the volume of the frequencies that make the tone, that make up whatever audio signal that you have. That's all you're doing. It's no real magic. It's just taking out, it's just saying, hey, all these frequencies make the timbre, or make up the timbre of what I'm hearing, or what you're listening to, right? And you can adjust each individual volume for each of these frequencies. However, what you don't want to do is start to do stuff like this. So you don't want to start taking out all these EQs. You know, you're taking stuff way out. And what you're ending up with is just less volume. So if your EQ is looking something like this, then you know what your problem is not necessarily that you have a bad EQ, but if you're having to do this, you probably need to regain stage, because all you're doing is turning down the gain, right? So what I have to do to correct this and make this mic sound normal now that I took out all the EQ and I took out my volume of my mic is boost my gain again. And so now, you know, I'm back to where I was before. So it's always important to understand that EQ is not magic. It's just the individual frequency volume levels. That's all you're doing is adjusting the volume levels. Yeah, so, but you know, as I put this stuff back, you'll hear my volume come back to straight up normal. So I'm at a normal volume level now just by putting this stuff back, relatively back. All right, so that's EQ. That's something that I would love to teach one-on-one, help you kind of figure it out. You know, put your sight with your brain and with your ears, put it all together so you can go in and do this stuff really quick. Demystify it.